Hello, I'm Sharon Benjamin. Welcome to another edition of Leafless, Not Lifeless. I'm so happy that you decided to tune in, and you'll be able to get in touch with me, leaflessnotlifeless@gmail.com. You might want to share your story of how you appeared to be leafless, but really you were growing and developing. So let me know. Well, listen, we have a great show coming up for you today. Running a successful business, wrongfully accused, spent some jail time, but came out full cycle. And that is just a part of Cornell Bunting's story of leafless, not lifeless. And he's going to tell you all about it. We're so excited because I hope that you'll get some inspiration as to how you can get some inspiration from a fly. Who knew? But he did. He did. Welcome, Cornell.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here today.
I'm so happy that you're going to share your story. So listen, I know you're a writer and speaker and all of that, but tell us a little bit about yourself before you ever put pen to paper.
So a little bit about myself. I was born in Jamaica to a family of 3 boys and 1 girl. And we lived in we were living very well. And then my parents decided to separate. And so we went from 100 to 0. We went from having it all to having absolutely nothing, where we sometimes go on the street to go look for food, like mango skin from a mango, that someone was eating a mango and just, peel the mango, throw the skin to the side. That was our dinner some evenings, So we've gone through some rough phases in the earlier of my life, and then my aunt said, my mom can't really take care of all the kids by herself because my dad left all of us with her, and so she took care of me a little bit in England, and that's where the journey went.
Well, I'm glad to hear that part of your story because it's a strand. It plays right into how it appeared that you were leafless, but
Yes.
really you weren't lifeless.
I wasn't lifeless, it's a lot of that. And, I learned so much while there because I got into English literature and was reading a lot, got into the Tom Sawyer and the Huckleberry Finn stuff, so it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
So as time goes on and in this conversation, people are going to see how that part of your life actually played out to benefit you while you were incarcerated.
Yes.
So tell us about the business.
So
how you got into it.
Well, so first I started in hospitality. I did 17 years in hospitality, generated a lot of money. And from that, I decided to open my own business. And from there, the security company was doing very well. And, I started to hire more securities, and it just happened that my competitors didn't like that I was getting all the jobs. And so from that, a story was fabricated, and that fabricated story landed me in jail, where I spent 10 months facing 32 years to life in prison.
Wow. So going from being successful, you talked earlier about what happened with your family, going from 100 to 0. So here's another example, huh?
Right. And then going back from 0 to 100. So, between the success in the hospitality world as a bellman, all those achievements, and was able to put those to use to where people see, like, I was not just doing this and not understanding what can come from this. And so when I got my first degree in technology, I said, you know what, this is the field I want to exercise, see what lays out there for me. And that was what I went after.
Now, 10 months in jail. Now, I've never been imprisoned. However, I did work with prison ministry. And I just remember going in and hearing those doors locked behind us, going in, and just that psychologically. And I understand sometimes incarcerated persons just lose it psychologically.
Yeah.
How were you able to maintain your sanity?
You know, it was challenging, and it's crazy you say when the bars close behind you, because where I was maximum security, and it's like you go into a place, and then in that place you go into another place, and then in that place you go into another place where there's a cell, you're locked in, you can't get out, you see no light of the day. And then when you do find out you get to see light of the day, it's for an hour for the week. So it was one day out of the week, which was a Tuesday, you get to go to the rec yard for an hour, which was the roof of the building. And on the roof of the building, you can only see the sky. So for me, when I realized this was my new atmosphere, this was where I'll be until the system figure out that I'm innocent, I needed to make adjustments. And so I said, you know what, I need to create a shell of myself, because I can't have the Cornell that is creative, all these different things here among these individuals that don't care nothing about nothing. You know, so, and those guys really showed me that they care nothing about nothing. And so I had to make the adjustments. And so I created an individual there that can possibly try to relate to what they're doing, adjust to what they're doing, and not necessarily a lot of the action, so say, but understand where I'm not saying, hey, dude, what are you doing? You know, or hey, what that is, you know, like, it's okay. Mind my business, you know, and then just kind of see what that look like. Because, you know, it's weird when you see someone look at a woman outside, like, because we had the nurse that comes down to give us her medication. And when you can see a guy look at that woman and literally masturbate, it's brutal, because you're like, whoa, 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 what's happening right now? But this was the world I was in, you know. And then, you know, I seen two guys got in a physical fight because another guy went and looked at that same lady and was doing the same thing. And dude got in a fight with him because he was like, hey man, you can't be doing that to my woman. That's my woman. And this nurse know none of these guys, you know. So that's the mentality of what that looked like. I was like, this is serious.
So you talked about spending time in England with your aunt and getting into literature.
Yes.
How did that influence your stability or maintaining some kind of psychological help?
Well, you know, to understand the writing world and getting into that, and even, you know, me discovering a 19th century poet named Henry Wadsworth Longfellow that would encourage me in ways, and in the way he uses words, you know, like how he says, and heights by great men whose reach and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but there while their companions slept was upward tiling through the night. So for me, I knew like, hey, you have nothing but time here. You need to make this time useful. Despite you not knowing when you're gonna leave, you still need to put in some work. You have knowledge. So read, write, put on paper what is in your head, what your brain is thinking, you know, like how creative I can be with a story, like seeing a bird landing on a tree, bringing some type of food that it picked up from somewhere to feed its little birds, and writing a story from that.
So it sounds as if you created another culture for yourself.
Yes, yes. A culture, just because of how the detail of what was going on around me, because I had to pay attention to detail and I had to make the necessary adjustments. Because one thing about there is, if you're not on anyone's side, you need to be minding your own business at all times. And you need to be paying attention to detail. So I was one of those individuals that was always minding my own business and just into my world where I'm either reading a book. So, and no one bothers you, you know, it's really when, you know, you show firmness, you know, like you're not someone to be bullied around or whatever. And, you know, they leave you alone.
So you started some writing while you were incarcerated.
Yes, yes. There
Tell us
was
about that.
this. So it wasn't until after things were put into perspective for me. And once things were put into perspective and I kind of settled down, where I wasn't angry anymore because of what was going on and what I was losing. But now I was reading, you know, things were coming back to me that I had already had. You know, I used to write in high school, plays and all these things. And so it was like that voice was saying, hey, you know, this gift that you were given, I need you to put it on paper. And so for me, it was like every little journey that I had went through and the possibility of what a synopsis of that looked like on paper. And that's what I did, you know, just start doing that.
So you were there for 10 months. How long did it take you to get to that point? How long did it take you to let go of the anger?
It was 3 months. It took 3 months, and that 3 months, it literally was the day before the day that would be 90 days I'm in there. And this fly happened.
So talking about that, you know, we've heard people say sometimes we talk about other people's lives. If only I had been a fly on the wall. And
Yeah,
when we think about flies, now I grew up on a farm in Tennessee, so I saw lots of flies and
yeah,
I saw the maggots. And it's interesting that I did an article with one of my classes about maggot therapy.
yeah,
And so when we think about flies, we think about all the negative, right?
yeah.
You don't think about them being any kind of positive or inspiration, but you got some inspiration from a fly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How did that happen?
You know, and it's crazy because that day everyone was doing, you know, we were either doing workout, because there were some guys that came in and, you know, they work out every day. You be creative with what you have. Everyone is doing something, you know, everyone is trying to be productive, whether someone's reading, you know, working out, walking around the dorm. And then out of nowhere, this fly just start moving around. Like you hear it, and then it's like everything was happening, and then everyone stopped. Because we were like, there's something in here. And then we saw it. And it's like everyone froze. And we were just watching the fly. And in that moment, it was like the fly is telling me, bro, I know you guys don't see a way to get out of here, but I found a way to get in here. You guys won't even see where, because we look everywhere. Believe me, we look every single where to see where could this fly possibly, how did this fly get in here? But this fly was in here. And from me seeing that fly and everyone else, you know, whether whatever they were thinking, because now the fly was the highlight of the day. No one harmed the fly. This fly now have our attention. And so I know everyone took their different parts, but for me, it was, I found a way in here. And anywhere you can find a way in, you can find a way out. And that was when it came to me like, you're going to get out. You just need to look at what your purpose is right here. Start working on the foundation of what that purpose is, which was nailing down the wording of the knowledge that I would receive there, to start writing that would help individuals, that things can relate to, that, they go through some adversities, what those adversities look like and how they can pull purpose from those adversities.
That's awesome. So from that fly, that must have given you like the Japanese bullet train momentum.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was like nothing else. And it was a big day. It was a big day. We was excited for the fly. We was excited for the fly, and it was beautiful.
That's an amazing piece there. So from that point on, you started working more vigorously in terms of, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah. Because then I knew I was getting out. Like that fly, literally, it was like something came to me. I was like, you're getting out of here. Just do what you need to do right now, to as soon as you get out, you hit the ground running. You're not going out there and trying to, go after the people that put you here and none of that. You now, because you have responsibilities, you have kids, you have a purpose, you have people to reach. And so what does that look like? Me putting some books together, possibly getting one of those books published, and then from that book getting published, speaking engagement, moving around, talking to different individuals. This was what that looked like. Like I saw myself on stage in front of thousands of people.
While you were still in that cell.
While I was still in that cell.
You have to have a vision, right?
Yeah, you have to.
You have to have a vision. All right, so the day came, you were released. Tell us about it.
So when the day happened, so a week prior to the day, I knew the day that I was gonna get out. They said by the time we're done with, moving around the hole and all these things, this would be the day that everything would be ready for you to go, because I had to sell some things to burn out. And so that day I had my friend come get me because I wanted to surprise my boys. My boys would come see me every Friday, and they would always ask, when you coming home, Dad? And I could never give them an answer. So that day we stopped at a store. I got a huge box. And once I got home, I got the box prepared for myself, had them go get my boys for me. And I was in the box like a gift.
Yes.
A gift box. And the boys, they came, they were so fast. Like as soon as I got in the box, and maybe we're in there for probably a minute or so, the boys came through the door and they saw the huge present, and they were like, woo, like they were excited about it. My little man was so excited, he jumped on top of the box. And then they just start ripping the gift paper off, just going crazy. And then I appeared, and then they just start screaming. And my son was jumping over in the box, and then I moved the box from off me, and it was hugging and emotions, and it was beautiful.
So now you're released. What next? What did you do after that? What took place? Were you completely free?
No, because now I had child support on me, because the mom had put me in child support. So now I had child support money that I needed to pay. And I still had the 16 felony charges hanging over my head because now we still have trial to come, you know. They wanted me to take a plea deal, but I refused to take a plea deal. So I keep going to pre-conference trials. And every time we go, because the state doesn't have a case, we have to set another pre-conference trial. And we went to 14 pre-conference trials. And then the case became the oldest case. So the focus was getting that done. But in the meanwhile, I needed to find work to pay off this child support. And so I got a job as a server. And I was able to make enough tips to pay off the child support. And so that was what was happening there. And then once I had a handle on what it's going to look like once I go to trial, because I knew this was going to go away, but it was hanging there. And so because it was hanging there, it made a lot of things very difficult. You know, no one would give me a job because when you put my name in, you see these felony charges hanging over my name. And so, you know, I just start writing more. I was just writing because I said, you know, one day I'll be able to just start putting out these books.
And that's a perfect example of what appeared to be, to some people, you appeared to be leafless, but you were actually growing and developing all the time.
Definitely.
All the
Most
time.
definitely. Yes.
So, and you know, and I tell my guests that often, you know, your story is not unique in terms of wrongfully accused, wrongfully imprisoned, but the difference in yours is that you did something about it.
Yes, yes. You know, that's the thing. It's in everything, and you know, and I tell people this so much time, in everything, in every trial that you go through is the learning lessons that the universe is trying to throw at you to say, hey, you need to understand this, you need to understand that. This is what's going to help you to grow into that individual, the better you, the 5 years down the road you, that is trying to help you walk into what that purpose look like, you know. So in everything, in all of these different moving parts, there's all those learning lessons to take away.
And unfortunately, some people don't learn them.
No, because
but I think, you know, with people hearing you and seeing what you've done and a real life example of
yes,
coming full cycle, not circle, but I'm using a play
full
on
cycle.
word because of the way
Yes.
eyes operate.
Yes.
Coming full cycle and seeing
Yes.
that this can really happen.
Yes, yes, yes. It is there. You know, you just got to grab it and run with it.
So your growth was not just for you, but for other people as well. So tell us some of the things you're doing right now.
So right now, you know, 8 books in published, 3 of which was #1 on Amazon. Have a nonprofit organization that I started named EAS, stands for Everyone Has a Story, where we create self-reliance and a growth mindset for disadvantaged youths. You know, right now I'm working on workbooks that will be used in the workshop for this Stories to Create program, 12-week program that goes over adversity, critical thinking, strengthening families, and financial literacy.
That's awesome.
Yes, yeah. So there's quite a bit going. We have a novel as well that just got acknowledged by 2 publishers. So I'm deciding between the 2 which I'm gonna go with to publish that novel. And we have a children's book, Leslie Plover, that is also in the works to come out this year as well.
That's awesome. And I'm going to try to share this, and you can talk about how people can get in touch with you. I'm sure people will want to. Let me see if I can share this. And you can tell us, I was curious to know, what's the impetus for this logo?
The lion, the Leo. I am July 31st. I'm a Leo. So, you know, of course, we gotta have the lion in there that just represent the brand Cornell Bunting. which that is my website as well, cornellbunting.com, that highlights blogs, my books, all the books on Amazon. Then also, of course, they can go on Amazon, see the books, find me on Instagram, Twitter, at Cornleg9 to see all that work.
LinkedIn.
Yes, and LinkedIn as well, Cornell Bunting on LinkedIn. So yeah, we're out there. We are out there.
More information here.
Yes,
And
yes.
phone number, and just, this is so exciting. I'm inspired. But you know, I've said to people that inspiration has to go beyond inspiration.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm just inspired. It has to go to motivation. So here, motivational speakers, so you're not just inspired, and people are not just inspired, but hopefully motivated. But not just motivated, you have to be determined, have to have determination as well.
Yes, yes,
This is awesome.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So I really appreciate your sharing this information with us. I'm sure the listeners and viewers will be inspired as well. Any closing comments for the viewers and listeners?
You know, and I'm sure they have heard this, don't want to preach to the choir, but it's very important that you believe in you. And it's also important that you find some time throughout the year to reevaluate yourself and what you're doing, and just to get a fresh mindset on what that look like. Understand growth comes from the challenges you go through.
That's awesome. Great advice. Well, Cornell, thank you so much for being my guest here on Leafless, Not Lifeless. I'm Sharon Benjamin, your host. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You may contact me at leaflessnotlifeless@gmail.com. Thank you so much. And if you have one of those leafless, not lifeless stories that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it. And so with the listeners. So thanks again. See you next time on the next edition of Leafless, Not Lifeless.